car crashes, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, the attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts with the attorneys of Hollis Wright.
Hello and welcome to another edition of The Attorneys. We are so glad to have you with us, and also so glad to have in our studio today a special guest who you're about to meet in just a moment. We're going to dive into the area of the law known as prosecution, but there are many elements of prosecution that you may not be aware of, and that's why we're going to tackle that. So don't worry, we got you covered. I'm Art Franklin, your host. He, of course, is Carter Clay, a partner with Hollis, Clay, and Wright, and also our special guest from the Bessemer Cutoff of the District Attorney's Office in Jefferson County is Miss Lynneise Washington. Love her.
Yeah, Art, I knew there was a reason why I liked you. You put my name before my partner, Josh Wright, in the introduction. So that's very nice of you, propping me up a little bit there.
Right in Clay.
Yeah, but thank you for that introduction. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has been. But yeah, we're really fortunate tonight to have Lynneise Washington here with us. She is the District Attorney of the Bessemer Division of the Jefferson County area. And we're going to get her to explain a little bit about what that means when we talk about the Bessemer Cutoff. But Lynneise, thank you so much for being with us here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your background. I know it's unique, and I want to give you some props here right off the bat, because in learning a little bit about your background, I understand that you are the first African-American female in the entire state of Alabama to be elected to the district attorney position. Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct.
And of course, throughout the whole state of Alabama, some people may or may not know this, but these are elected positions throughout the entire state. Is that correct?
It is.
And when we talk about district attorney's offices, is there a district attorney's office in every county of the state of Alabama?
There is a district attorney's office in every county.
Okay.
We have 42 district attorneys. And we are the only county, Jefferson County is the only county with 2 elected district attorneys, one in the Birmingham division and myself in the Bessemer division.
Yeah, and when we talk about the Bessemer Cutoff of Jefferson County, what are we talking about exactly?
The area, the geographical area is from a little tip of Inslee all the way to the Tuscaloosa line. That encompasses Hoover, parts of Hoover, Lake Cyrus, Ross Bridge, a lot of the other subdivisions. You have McDonald Chapel, of course, Fairfield, Hueytown, Pleasant Grove, Oak Grove, Sylvan Springs, Edgewater, Dolomite. I mean,
a large area, indeed.
Yes,
indeed.
yes.
Can you talk about, as we get to know you, those of you who don't know you, why did you choose prosecution as opposed to defense attorneys or civil law?
I've been an attorney since 97?
Yeah.
But I wanted to run for DA because I served as an assistant DA from 2002 to 2010.
Right.
In the same office that I now serve as the elected DA. So I had an opportunity, I had a bird's eye view of the office in terms of being an assistant DA. And I saw some things that I would like to change, but I would not have ever ran against then my boss, which was Arthur Green.
Yeah.
So the opportunity arose for me to have that opportunity to run, and I did.
Okay, and so unlike most counties where you've got a district attorney that covers that particular entire county or the circuit that they're in, Jefferson County is unique in that regard, in that we literally geographically divide our county up to sort of a Birmingham division and a Bessemer division. Is that
Absolutely.
right? And
Absolutely.
so you handle the prosecution of crimes that occur within what we refer to as the Bessemer Cutoff, which is the geographical areas that you described earlier.
Absolutely.
So how many assistant district attorneys do you have that work with you in the Bessemer area?
I have 17.
Okay.
And it was less than that, but since I've been in office, I had an opportunity to petition our state legislature. I presented a bill to ask to have, I think I've added 3 more DA since then.
Okay, and so all of your prosecutions in terms of the judges that you appear in front of, the trials that you or the other assistant district attorneys handle, all of that occurs in the Bessemer courthouse within Jefferson County,
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah.
And so in addition to really getting justice for the victims and the victims' families, there's something else that you do as well to make sure that you provide support to those grieving families. And during the National Crime Victims' Rights Week, you do this balloon release and things of that
Yes.
nature. Can you talk about that and why that's important?
Every year, the National Crime Victims' Rights Week is recognized all over the state. And for whatever reason, I wanted to do something special. And I know I won't say whatever reason. I have a passion for our victims. No one asked to become a victim.
Yeah.
No one asked to have a loved one snatched from them or for themselves to be harmed. And so I felt it was important to empower those people in my jurisdiction about information to go on their day-to-day lives when they lose a loved one. And for those who are survivors, to empower them with information to make better decisions. So what we do annually is we have a roster of names of those individuals who lost their lives, and we call out those names. I call out the name. We did a little differently last year, but it started out that I would call each individual name. The families would stand when I call their names, and they would have their buttons, their paraphernalia, the t-shirts, and you can hear a pin drop in the room. Yeah. And when I call their names and the family would stand, I would toll the bell. We would toll the bell. And we would do that, and at the conclusion of the program, we would always have a guest speaker, someone to give them information. We'd have pamphlets and different vendors out there to give information. And then at the end of the program, we would do a balloon release, a prayer, and a balloon release.
Yeah, well, that's a great program that you all do, because you could obviously speak to this a whole lot better than I can, because I don't do criminal type prosecution or work. But I do feel like in terms of the news media and things out there that oftentimes we lose sight that there are victims to these crimes, right?
Absolutely.
And we get so focused on who the criminal defendant is and the prosecution of that individual and holding them accountable, but sometimes we lose sight of the fact that there are real victims behind a lot of these crimes.
Absolutely. I even started the victim service unit in my office as part of, just helping navigate victims through the court system. We are there for them from the beginning all the way to the end. I have victim service officers that are there with the tissue. And oftentimes victims, they may come because of a death or harm to themselves, but they may have other issues going on. Yeah. Domestic violence victims, say for instance, if you're a victim of domestic violence and say your abuser is in jail, but he was also the breadwinner, so who's going to help pay the bills? So we refer them to different organizations, different resources to help them to move on and to get them through the process.
Yeah. All right, I know we're about to take a break, but on the next segment, I want to talk to Lynneise, because I am curious about any unique challenges that perhaps maybe she has confronted or faced over the last several years, being the first African-American female elected to the district attorney's office. So we'll talk about that on the next segment.
We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about much more, because we're just getting started as we are talking with Jefferson County District Attorney Lynneise Washington in the Bessemer Cutoff. I also want to remind you that if you have any questions or you got some legal issues that you want to put before the attorneys, the right number to call is 1-844-LAW-TALK, and you can reach an attorney from Hollis, Wright & Clay, and they can answer that question for you. That call is free, that call is confidential, and you can do that right now. We're going to take a break, but we'll continue our discussion with Lynneise Washington right after this.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis Wright, a personal injury law firm, and thank you for watching The Attorneys. We hope you, a friend, or a loved one never needs legal counsel for a case. But if you do, the goal of the show is simple: to provide answers and legal counsel when you need it the most. Your call to the show is free and off air. So if you have questions specific to the show or related to other accident or injury topics, call, email, or text us. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, or go to hollis-wright.com and click on the Contact Us button. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us and watching The Attorneys.
The Attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you.
When we started the show 8 years ago, my hope was we would be able to do what we do best, which is to help people answer real-world legal-related issues they have in their life.
People oftentimes are confronting various legal issues and problems in their lives that range across the gamut of legal practice areas. Bankruptcy, criminal law, family law, just to name a few. And to be able to have a 30-minute platform or format to where we can just cover various legal topics once a week, that's obviously the primary focus of the show.
That we would be able to use the resources of the many lawyers we have at this law firm to create a plan that had a lasting impact that also gave back to the community at the same time. And I think we've done just that with The Attorneys. The firm's motto is "Your result matters," and we mean that sincerely. Hollis Wright handles cases every day for those at their lowest point, and will do whatever it takes to get the result you deserve. At Hollis Wright, your result matters.
Welcome back to The Attorneys, and we are talking with Jefferson County District Attorney from the Bessemer Cutoff, Lynneise Washington, and also wanted to remind you that you can go to Hollis Wright and Clay's social media channels anytime. That's on Twitter, that's on Facebook, that's also on Instagram or Twitter, X, whatever is being called these days. But there you can get good information. A lot of posts are being done throughout the week, and you can stay in touch with what's going on with Hollis Wright and Clay. As I said, we're talking with Lynneise Washington and Carter. Good conversation to get started, but we've got some other things that we want to unpack as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on a personal level, I'm curious as to whether or not you feel like you faced any kind of unique challenges being the first elected African-American female to a district attorney position in Alabama, and if so, can you share some of those with us?
Ooh, where do I start? Well, you know, just the fact to be the first black woman in a male-dominated field, I was not always so welcome to those spaces, but whenever I go prepared and I go confident. Yeah. And I guess it's just that often, you know, in the field of prosecutions and policing, prosecutors are basically law enforcement. So we occupy a lot of the same spaces. So they did not know, to be totally honest, what to expect of me.
Right.
And my thing is, when I took office, I took an oath. I took an oath to support the Constitution of the United States.
Right.
I took an oath to support the Constitution of the state of Alabama, as long as I'm a citizen thereof.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, and I guess with now you've got several years worth of experience under your belt, so obviously that has helped you grow as an individual prosecutor, and I guess made you feel more comfortable and confident in your position, your role, and the things that you've been able to accomplish.
It was a lot of pushback initially, because people are not so welcoming to anything new.
Right.
It's always what we've always done.
Yeah.
You know, when I first got into the office, I often heard, you know, what we would always do was always been done. So we started a new year, a new season, a new term. And I'm proud of the office staff that I have, the prosecutors that I have. Some of them are the same people that I used to sit back in the office and drink coffee and talk about the boss. So, but that was good because I had an opportunity to know those prosecutors because I was one of them. I was a line prosecutor. I know their skills. I know who is, you know, stronger. I know who's the more complex, the more detailed prosecutor. I know who is just, you know, I want to get straight to the point. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And D.A. Washington, if I can ask this question of you, after reviewing the evidence from the various law enforcement agencies that you work with, and then you determine that this is a case that you want to prosecute and you actually take that on, how do you go about the whole process, and maybe people don't understand this, is also your role in the actual criminal investigation as well.
Yes.
So it's not just prosecuting, but there's another role you have on the criminal investigation side.
Well, if I can start from A, you have first responders. Whenever a crime is committed, you have police officers that are there first. They start collecting evidence, and oftentimes I even come to visit crime scenes. I don't go to tell them what to do and how to do things, but should I see something, should I see a camera or whatever, I'll direct them to that. Once they gather evidence, the law is in the state of Alabama, not just in Bessemer Cutoff, but as well as in Birmingham Division, that the magistrate is the one that issue the warrant. So once evidence is collected, and normally the officers will consult with our office first. We discuss those potential charges that could be brought, but it's up to the magistrate to actually issue the warrant and determine whether there's enough probable cause for these cases to move forward.
Well, sorry to interrupt you,
No.
but what was jumping to my mind is the law school, the fruit of the tainted tree example, where we talk about how you do go to some of these crime scenes not to tell them what to do, but through the process, there are times where I'm sure that they would lean on you and the members of your office in terms of consulting with you about whether they should take certain action, because when we talk about that fruit of the tainted tree is if it's initially done incorrectly to where an attorney for the defendant can jump on it and say you didn't have probable cause or you needed a warrant for this, everything that flows from that could be inadmissible in court that could jeopardize the prosecution. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think that's something y'all have to consider all the time.
Absolutely. Once something is done improper, anything that flows from it, oftentimes if they did not enter a home correctly, the search warrant was faulty. It doesn't matter what you collected after then. If you collected the smoking gun, if your search warrant was faulty, then of course any good defense attorney is going to challenge all of the evidence that was brought and collected. So being out there, oftentimes by the time I get there, whatever is done is already done. But our office also have investigators. So my investigators assist the different agencies because they're boots on the ground. We know crime happens every day. And by the time they finish one scene, they're going to the next. So oftentimes my investigators, DA investigators will assist the agencies, and it might be calling a witness or contact. Minute or large, so they help out.
Yeah, in a general sense, I don't want to get specific, but in terms of like felonies and misdemeanors, and based on the potential sentencing associated with crimes, what types of prosecutions are y'all handling in your office as opposed to the local municipalities, speeding tickets and DUIs in Hoover, Homewood, Mount Brook, and things of that nature? What do y'all handle?
Well, we have municipalities such as Hoover, such as Bessemer, and Hueytown, that if a crime, a misdemeanor, or traffic violation happens there, oftentimes they handle it in their jurisdiction in municipal court.
Right.
However, if there is a conflict, even in a municipal case, if there is a conflict, it's not unusual that it'll be transferred over to the county.
And if there's a conviction at the local municipality, can they appeal that?
Yes.
And does it get appealed to the circuit court level and then handled by somebody in your office?
It is.
Okay. But all felonies and things of that nature are going directly to your office for prosecution at the county level.
Well, and let me backtrack, and I apologize. On an appeal that goes to our court, say Bessemer has a city attorney, and the city attorney's office will handle that trial.
Okay.
So our office wouldn't just handle it.
Okay.
All right. So we are learning a lot about prosecution, about the law, as also learning a lot about Jefferson County District Attorney Bessemer Cutoff, Lynneise Washington. And if you're watching the show, you might also want to give a call to one of the attorneys at Hollis, Wright and Clay. They can answer whatever questions you have, whatever legal concerns you may have, or you may want to contact them about because you need them for a specific case. All you have to do is call 1-844-LAW-TALK for a free confidential call from one of the attorneys at the firm. Stay with us. We're going to wrap up with this discussion with Lynneise Washington right after this.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis Wright. As with any industry, it's important in the legal world to hire an attorney that is knowledgeable and has a track record of success. But with so many attorneys out there and so many different types of cases, how does someone decide the right lawyer to hire? In this week's Legal 4-in-1, we're answering the question, what should I consider in hiring an attorney? In-state versus out-of-state, big firm or little firm, recommendations from friends or family, the internet or TV. With so many choices and so much information, it can be an overwhelming task trying to make the right decision. To complicate things, choosing a lawyer is an important and sometimes life-affecting decision and should not be taken lightly. So how do you select an attorney? First, do your research. Look the firm up on the internet. Learn about the cases they handle and the results they get. Second, find out what clients are saying about the firm. Many websites provide client testimonials or have a star ranking system. Use those to your advantage. And finally, talk with a lawyer from their office and ask them questions. Questions about the volume of cases they handle. Do they return phone calls? Are you just a number or a client that gets the attention you deserve? Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis Wright want to help answer your questions on real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will respond to every question you send in. That's our pledge and promise to you. Thanks for watching The Attorneys.
Did you know when you hire Hollis Wright, you are still in charge of your case? Our attorneys at Hollis Wright are client-centered, allowing you to help us control your case and result. At Hollis Wright, your result matters.
We welcome you back to The Attorneys, and we have the pleasure of speaking with Jefferson County District Attorney from the Bessemer Cutoff, Lynneise Washington. D.A. Washington, so glad to have you with us. And we don't have a lot of time left, and we want to take all this time up with you because of some other things we want to talk about, especially some of your programs.
Yeah, before we get into that, though, I want to talk to you about, in this day of social media and news coverage of various high-profile criminal cases, you know, there are a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks out there that want to second-guess plea deals and sentencing and those types of things. Do you confront that from time to time in your work, and talk a little bit about how you handle those issues?
Oh, yes. Everybody, you got, like you said, Monday morning quarterback going on. But, you know, we have laws for a reason. And, you know, we cannot live in a lawless society. And with those laws comes accountability. And so, again, you know, whatever, there are people that will never agree with what prosecutors do. And on the same token, there are people that will agree with what prosecutors do. So you cannot please people. Right. You have to follow the law and do the right thing.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think is important for people to understand is when we hear all this news coverage that's brought out about the facts and circumstances of crimes and the individual that's been charged with a crime, as you mentioned, we have rules of law, but we also have rules of evidence.
Yes.
And a lot of times people don't understand that, number one, what they hear about on the TV and in social media, one, it may not be factually accurate or correct, and then two, just because you hear about it does not mean that you as the prosecutor are automatically entitled to introduce that in front of a jury as part of your case, right?
Absolutely. You know, during trials you'll hear a term hearsay. You know, objection to hearsay. And if it's something that somebody have said, and it's a statement made out of court, in cases there are exclusions to the hearsay rule. But, the common person, the common citizen don't know anything about hearsay and exclusions to the hearsay rule. But they'll know about what she said. Yeah. It's all over social media. She said this or that. And, so it may be excluded. And if it is excluded, we can't bring that into the record.
Yeah, and one of the great examples that I think to really illustrate this point is you'll see news coverage or social media talking about somebody being charged with a crime, and they'll immediately follow up talking about how many prior convictions they had. Yes. And he or she's definitely guilty with this rap sheet that they had. But what they don't understand, Art, is that the vast majority of the time, the prosecutor would never be able to introduce these prior convictions, because we don't want a person to be convicted based on prior convictions. We want them to be convicted for what they did in this particular case, or found not guilty for not having committed a crime. But a lot of people just don't understand that. But that plays a huge part in y'all's evaluation and in decisions to plead somebody out or to go forward with a trial.
Absolutely. If a person takes the stand, the defendant takes the stand, they open themselves up to having their convictions, known to the jury and to whoever's in the gallery. But if they don't take the stand, it has to be something relevant in order to be able to open that door. And basically, too, the convictions that they have are essential in sentencing. If they have prior convictions, that is determined, that is considered in the sentencing phase if they are found guilty.
Yeah. But D.A. Washington, before we let you go, something I really want to get into, and this is that you launched Alabama's first conviction integrity unit.
Yes.
Tell us what that is and how it works.
The Conviction Integrity Unit is something that I wanted to do before I became elected. I started reading about prosecutors around that are reviewing those cases of wrongful convictions, and that's something I wanted to do, and I know we didn't have one in Alabama. And so when in 2018, when the DA in Birmingham, Danny Carr, was elected, the stars aligned, so we were able to not only have it in the Bessemer division, but also in the Birmingham division. So because our resources are limited, we have a window that you have to assert absolute innocence. And this is not to, and there's an application for that. This is not to punch a finger in the eye of the police officers and say, you're bad, we're against police officers. It's nothing like that. But technology has advanced since, in these old cases. Technology has advanced, and we established best practices going forward. And if a person is truly innocent, they should not be held in prison.
Well, this has been an incredible conversation with you. We only scratched the surface of the topics that I wanted to cover with you, but I'm thankful for that, because that'll give us a reason to have you back on and join us again in the future. You're doing a great job out there handling the prosecution in the Bessemer Cutoff Division, so best of luck to you and your team.
Thank you so much.
Always good to see you, Jefferson County District Attorney from the Bessemer Cutoff, Lynneise Washington. And we want to thank you so much for joining us here on The Attorneys, and make an appointment to join us again next week. And if you need to reach an attorney, you still have time to call right now, 1-844-LAW-TALK. It's free, it's confidential, and you have an attorney from Hollis, Wright & Clay on the other end of the line. Thank you so much. We'll see you back here next week.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.